Everyone. Today we're here with Marcel Moore. Now, this brother's a teacher within our community, and teachers are extremely important. In my opinion, teachers are way more important than any kind of rapper out there. No shade to rappers, but our kids aren't learning anything. Now, we posted a story last week about a Caucasian female teacher that decided to bring up three black students and up telling them how does it feel to be a slave as she walked on their back. So, thank you, brother, for coming on the show today. All right, so Marquell, tell us how you got involved in being a teacher.
Well, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and so a lot of my family didn't have a college education. And growing up in Milwaukee, I grew up in a low-income community. Um, you know, Again, many of my family didn't have a college education. Didn't probably some of them didn't even have a high school education, and so I knew that I wanted to do something better with my life, and I knew that black kids and kids of color, Hispanic, Asian, black, Native, they all needed, good teachers. And, my teachers pushed me, no matter the circumstances I had to deal with in Milwaukee, my teachers still pushed me to, graduate high school and go to college. So I knew that that feeling of, being supported is what our children needed. And so I wanted to continue that. And so when I came to college, I knew right then and there that I wanted to be a teacher. And so I majored in education, and the rest was history from that. So
So you get into the school system itself. Now,
yeah.
what's one thing that you have recognized about being in the school system? Is there any black male teachers around?
No, so in my school system, with the school that I student taught at, I was the only black male teacher in the school. Now there are black people, but they're most like the cooks, the janitor, all that stuff. But as far as like teachers and principals, those white collar, positions, no, I was the only black male teacher. But one thing I realized when I got into the school system today is that it's very different than how it was when I was in school. When I was in elementary school, I had a black male principal. I had a principal. He was a black man. I had black teachers in elementary school, and see, they were hard on me, but they were hard on me for a good reason. Um, and they really pushed us as black children to, they taught us phonics and reading, they taught us discipline. And so now, shifting over time, when I go into the schools now as a teacher in training, I see all black kids still the same, like nothing has changed. Black and Hispanic kids all in one school with white teachers. Well, that wasn't the case when I was in school, in elementary school. Again, I had black teachers and Hispanic teachers, or black and white. So I don't know what has happened, but it's mostly now white teachers and still with black and Hispanic kids. So that was a shock to me.
Well, more than 75% of the teachers in this country are white female.
Yes,
And
white
in a
woman.
country that you have a so-called melting pot and multiculturalism, and yet in the schools is nothing but white female. Now,
Yes.
do you think that's done on purpose?
Yes, yes and no. So I will say I think it's done on, when we got to go back to history. So when schools are segregated, black children had black teachers and black principals, obviously because they couldn't go to school with white children. And so you had white kids that went to white schools with white teachers. You had black kids that went to black schools with black teachers. But when integration happened, when Brown versus Board, that is when it all started to, and that's when it all started, for our schools to become more integrated. And while our schools became more integrated with students, the teaching profession did not. And so you had all these, urban schools, basically getting rid of teachers of color and bringing in white teachers from the suburbs to teach black kids. And so was it done on purpose? To a certain degree, I believe so. Um, but now I don't know if it was fully done for that reason. But we really have to examine the intentions on why is it today that there are less teachers of color in urban schools and more white people, more white women, I should say.
Right, and when I think about when I was in school, and I remember every teacher that I ever had. One thing I'm talking
Hmm.
about is definitely the black ones,
Hmm.
and they did not play with me. Okay,
Hmm.
they didn't cut me no slack, but I knew they cared about me.
Yes.
Okay, and every last one of them I learned so much from, more than any other teachers. Now I'm not saying any white teacher I had didn't care and I didn't learn anything. No, 'cause I had some great teachers that were white, but all the black ones, they were spot on. And,
Yes.
and it's like, because the thing is, what people don't understand, we know our children, we know, us just in general, okay?
Hmm.
And when you have children, I've done, stories on this where you had a Caucasian female teacher, you had some rowdy black kids, and she just got so frustrated, and she said in that video, that's why you end up being shot and you acting like a bunch of, N words. But she said all that out of anger and frustration. Now, if you have black students like that, where is the black teacher then? Let the black teacher deal, because she could check him, or he can check him quickly.
Well, that's what I got in trouble with. So yeah, I got in trouble for that, and I explained, when we get to that point, on what happened with my situation.
Okay, well, you brought it up. What happened?
So basically, I'm an only black male teacher in the school, so I was student teaching. I had a white woman; she was my master teacher, and she was very nice. I didn't have any issues with her. She was very good, supporting me as a teacher and stuff. But I was at a very diverse school, so you had black kids, Asian kids, Hispanic, you name it. Well, I had a lot of behavior issues with my African American students. And so, and I think the problem is because I think it was mostly white women in these schools. And I think that they just approach behavior differently with, African American children. It was more of, not disciplining them, and not, and maybe because they were scared of them, I don't know. But they just kind of let these kids just run wild, and talk crazy to them. Now, when we was growing up, well, when I was growing up, I didn't disrespect my adults or elders, and so that's not how I was raised. And so I'm coming into this profession as thinking that, okay, these black kids know, we don't call those by our first name, we don't do that, the culture thing, we need to be respectful. And so basically, this one black girl was cussing and swearing up and down in the hallway. And I said, young lady, please watch your mouth. Please don't swear like that. And she looked at me and she said, who the F are you talking to? Shut the F up talking to me with your fat ass.
Mm-hmm.
This is a black girl. So mind you, I'm more emotionally disturbed because here's my own people. You're going to talk to me like that? And so, I kind of, was like, who are you talking to? And she, kept going on cussing me out and, saying she was going to beat my ass if I didn't stop talking to her, telling her what to do. And in that moment, and this is where I deeply regret what I did. I kind of grabbed her by her shoulders and said, you are not going to talk to me like this. I'm a teacher and I'm an adult and you are the student. You are not going to disrespect me. Well, unfortunately, in Minnesota or the schools, you can't touch children. So even though I would never hit children, no, by no means. I don't believe in corporal punishment in terms of, beating kids in that aspect, especially in the school. No, I'm not for that at all. I was grabbing her in terms of I love you that much to teach you not to behave like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the white folks don't see it that way. And and so they, fired me basically and said, you shouldn't have grabbed her, you know, um, our policy, you shouldn't touch kids at all, and I basically had got fired. But what I realized from that was I wrong for grabbing her? Yes, I shouldn't have did that. But I also want to talk about what are we doing with our children? You know, we have really I think if our children had more black teachers in school, they would not be behaving like this. I don't know, but I think that black teachers know black children, and we know like how to go about, behavior issues and, discipline and stuff. But, you know, again, white women don't see it that way. And a lot of white women, I feel like they feel sorry for black children, and so they give them a pass. I even heard one white teacher say, well, she has a hard life at home, so I'm going to go easy on her. I'm like, no, she still needs to learn that you can't come to school and talk crazy to adults. Yes, she may have a hard life at home, and she's a black girl and stuff, and I love her dearly. But we can talk about that piece, right? So we can talk about her, encouraging her that she can do whatever she want to do, even though she has a hard life at home. But we also got to teach her that, you can't walk through society, as an adult and disrespect other people, and also authority. You can't do that because I don't want to see none of these black kids in jail. I don't want to see none of them in jail. And that's what I think our school system, I feel like sometimes it gives you that feeling that it's doing that. Well, just ship them through the pipeline, Don't correct their behavior, just ship them through the pipeline because the prison's going to deal with them later.
Right.
And,
Well, listen to everything that you stated. You see, let me tell you where the problem lies. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Back when I was in school, if you would use profanity, that would get you Saturday school. And I don't know if you still have Saturday school, but Saturday school was, you come to school from 7 o'clock in the morning all the way to about noon on Saturday, right? And you had to do work all the way up until that time. Now, at that time period, you did not want to go to Saturday school because you want to sleep in, you got stuff to do, whatever. And if you wouldn't get Saturday school, well, then you get on-campus suspension, just for cussing. So it was a different culture, and I've seen now in these schools, these kids are allowed to cuss. These kids even cuss in the school room with the teacher,
yeah.
and nothing happens. And I'm like, what part of the game is this? Kids are allowed to walk around with these, these guys can walk around with all these different tank tops in school now. Like that was only allowed if you was playing basketball or something with athletics. These females who walk around these short shorts in school. They let them do all kind of things. And I had an assistant principal, never forget her. Boy, she was the police on them females. I mean, she was watching what they were wearing. And if they shorts were shorter than the length of their arm, she would send them home every time. So they knew. But see, they established a culture. And when you have a culture that's telling children you don't have to watch your mouth, you don't have to respect adults, and then you have administrators and even district attorneys will back up those schools against teachers that's trying to correct that behavior. They let them have this form of degeneracy. And then that same people, though, when it comes to that Caucasian cop that's in that school, let that same kid talk to that cop that way. That cop will body slam that same kid that
Right,
told you
right.
that's saying what they said to you,
Yeah.
drag that kid on the floor like that Ben Fields guy a few years ago, dragging that black girl on the floor. And he don't go to jail. He don't have no charges pressed on him. That sort of thing. Now the guy did, he got some trouble for that. But for the most part, I've done plenty of stories where cops have slammed these kids and nothing happened to them.
But
Okay.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I want black kids to know. I think, or children of color, like especially my black and Latino kids. I really want them to know that the world is not going to give you a second chance as a white, compared to white students. And so you really got to take school seriously. I know your home life may be hard. I know that my home life was hard. I'm here to show you that you got to do the best you can because the world is going to be more cruel to you. It's not gonna give you a second chance. Little DJ over here can steal a candy bar from the gas station. He gonna get 20 years. But let little Tommy from the suburbs, he steal a car. They finna give him 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So the world is not gonna give you a second chance. Look at me, I'm a prime example. I'm in some deep trouble just for this one incident. As many teachers that sleep with students, sexually assault students, as many teachers beat on them or don't care about them. I guess we got too many teachers in this profession that does that, do drugs with students, all these bad behavior going on, and most of them don't get off because I don't want to say they're white, but I feel like being a black male teacher, me doing that white people see it as me like I done beat the girl in the face. And so I really want our black children to understand. That's why, I wanted to tell her. And I guess I went about it the wrong way looking back, but the world's not gonna give you a second chance, baby girl. Like, look how you cussing, you acting. If that was a job interviewer, right next to you in the stairwell, they would they would say, they would look at you in the interview like you were just on the stairwell cussing, like, um, and so, there's really no second chances for black people and Latino people. And that's what I really want my kids or our kids to understand, that, we got to be careful when how we behave in certain places. School should be a place where you come to learn and you come to be positive and you come to be the best that you can be. It's okay to cuss at your friends. Those are social, scenes, maybe at the park, maybe at your house. But in school, you want to make sure that you be on your best behavior. So,
Well, yeah, because some of these kids are coming from, different type of homes, and we get that. But at the same time, this is why I'm always a promoter of us getting together and creating schools within our community, because we need to teach our children a proper education, because the school system now is, well, it always have been actually, it's an indoctrination system. These kids can come out of school and not know nothing. They don't know nothing about American history. They know nothing about finance. They know nothing about proper nutrition.
yeah.
They know nothing. They don't know how to fill out a resume. Don't know how to fill out an application. They don't even teach them how to obtain passports. They don't even have trades in school like they used to. Used to have an auto body shop.
Yeah.
Well, guys can go learn that. Just for example, they don't even have things like that in school anymore. That was like standard operating procedure to have that. Used to have where you can weld in school. And then after you get out of that, the teachers had good relationships with the vocational technical schools, and then you can get in, get your certificates or whatever you need to get, so you can get out there in the workforce and earn a decent living. I mean, so the school's not even doing that for people no more. Like I said, they're allowing the kids to cuss teachers out, fighting. The teachers, like I said, and I've covered a lot of stories. The majority of the teachers who are sleeping with students are Caucasian female. It's I've done the stories. I cannot deny that. Okay,
Yep.
and they get slapped on the wrist when they do it. But if you study the criminal justice system, like I have greatly studied it, there's two types of criminal justice system. It's one for blacks, and well, let me back up. It's one for non-whites. And then blacks going to be at the bottom of that, so we're going to get the worst time, because they do have a racial hierarchy in this country. And then you're going to have one for whites. Now, that one, they get slapped on the wrist. They don't go to jail. I just done a story last night, brother, where you had a white male rape a 13-year-old girl at a church camp. All he got was 15 years probation, no jail time. And you know why? Because the judge said he was legally blind, and that's a disability.
But see,
Now,
look at me though. I grabbed the girl by her shoulders to tell her to stop behaving like this, and they trying to take my teacher license away. You know what I'm saying?
see,
And so,
right there, exactly. When it comes to black people, they handle you with the letter of the law. Every letter that's in there, they coming at you with it. But when it comes to them, these teachers that sleep with students, you don't be hearing they license getting taken away. Same thing with the police. You don't hear the police losing their peace officer license, but let a black cop do the exact same things as the white cop. They go to jail immediately. They'll take their peace officer's license away, and black folks need to wake up to that. That we
that's
have
how
a
I'm telling
system
you.
in this.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
what?
telling these black students, like, the world's not gonna give you a second chance. These black kids need to know this. If I didn't care about, like I told, the parent, if I'm able to speak to the parent of the child that I had to encounter with, I would apologize, but I also want the parent to know, if I didn't love your baby, I would have never said anything to her. If I didn't love your baby, I would have let her walk around talking like that. Your baby is a beautiful baby, and I don't want to see her ever use such foul language that makes her look ugly. You know what I'm saying? And so, if I didn't care for her, I wouldn't have said anything, like most of these white teachers. But I think that, you know, I just really think that, do we not value black teachers anymore? And do we not
No,
understand?
I answer that question. No, this system would never value black teachers at all, because if they value black teachers, they would hire black teachers. It's Black History Month, and you got a bunch of white women trying to tell black children about black history. You know nothing about black people. all black history. If they had some respect, they would at least bring some black people in to discuss black history with the students, right? Or at least let black teachers discuss it. They don't do that.
No. You got them going and teaching people about, Martin Luther King, but you ain't teaching them about Malcolm X, though, and just, I don't know. I think that our schools are really not in a good place right now. We need education reform, and we need it now, and we have to, as black, as such, black educators, we have to be invited to the table on disciplinary actions for black children. A lot of these school districts now are reforming their disciplinary policy, especially for African Americans, because some school districts are getting called out for having the highest suspensions for African Americans. So they're saying, okay, we need to reform it, which is good. But the only problem is they're not inviting black teachers and black people to the table to discuss the disciplinary actions for black people. How are you, as a white woman, going to tell me how to discipline a black child? You know? And so we have to be invited to these tables to have these conversations, say, you know, what you're doing, white lady, when it comes to proposing this disciplinary policy, is mostly like giving a slap on the wrist for black kids. Black kids don't need a slap on the wrist because you're setting them up to fail in this society. You know what I'm saying? For example, I had one student, he's African American. He was same things, wearing, cussing up and down, fourth grader, cussing up and down, swearing, you know, threatening people, all this type of stuff. And so I told him, I said, and he wasn't doing his work either. And so, no, I didn't snatch him up. But I told him, I said, you're going to sit here during recess and you're going to think about what you did. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to talk to you during recess time. You're going to come in here. We're going to have a one-on-one talk, about what you did in your behavior today. Well, come to find out, these white folks have made a policy saying you can't take kids' recess away. And so I couldn't do nothing about it. He was guaranteed recess. Now, mind you, I'm not against kids having recess, whatever, but back in my day, recess was a privilege.
It is a privilege.
You didn't behave, you didn't go to recess.
Right.
So I don't know what these schools are doing now, and I'm trying to be careful of the language I use because I'm a new teacher. I don't want to ruin my career, but I also now I want to step on anybody's toes, but I also want to make sure that we speak on this behavior and disciplinary reform stuff. This kid not going to recess, okay? This kid is required to go to recess. Teachers can't take their recess away, okay? That's fine, but then what are the consequences for this student though? So I couldn't take his recess away. I couldn't have a conversation with him about his behavior during that time. He's guaranteed to go to specials, lunch. You know, I called home twice, nobody answered. And so what do you do? And it's like, and I'm like, I told some of my white colleagues, I said, I appreciate you all trying to care for black people, black students, but one thing we need to be careful of that you are setting some of these kids up to fail. The world is not going to be this nice to them when they get out of here. That little boy who was cussing, and the black girl who was cussing too and swearing up and down and, acting, inappropriate. If she was out in the real world, they're not going to be nice to her. They're not going to give her a slap on the wrist. And so are you feeling sorry for black people because you have white guilt? Because the last thing black kids don't need white sympathy. They need somebody to push them. Yes, their home lives may be hard, but the last thing they need from you is to feel sorry for them. Because when you feel sorry for them, they're going to feel sorry for themselves, and they don't need that.
Yeah, right. But this is the issue that I see with this. Ever since you have to study this. The people who make the laws in this country are Caucasians. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've noticed in their society, they don't give a lot of punishment to bad behavior. And this is why you will see them do more criminality and degeneracy than any other group. Because remember, it goes back to your situation. They handle us with the letter of the law, the letter of any kind of school policy, etc. Now, that black child, even though he falls underneath that wing of the laws they created, if that black child know that, wait a minute, there's no consequence to what I'm doing in class, So forget them what they say. I'm gonna keep doing it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if they do something like that, let's say, okay, no recess for acting up in class, then you have the Caucasian parents say, well, I mean, that's mean. Why would you do something like that? Okay, well, let me back up. Not all. I won't say all. But you do have a lot of them, especially the liberals, will come out and say that. And we as black people, we aren't liberal. We never really have been. We really more so black conservatism.
We are.
Really, that's
We
what we
are.
have.
Yes.
We're not liberal people. But unfortunately, we have been voting for a party that's promoting ideas that's against who we always have been in this country. In our value system, we value disciplinary actions. We
Mm-hmm.
value that, but it has to be done out of love, not out of, oh, I hate these blacks, and so
Right.
I'm going to treat them worse than any other
Yeah.
group.
And
But
like
earlier,
I tell these people, if I didn't care about your kid, like I want to tell these black parents, what person in their right mind, I have to go through a lot, college is not easy, you know. So excuse me. So if I didn't care about teaching children, I could have easily majored in accounting, got that accounting degree, made my 6 figures in corporate America, and not give a darn about these kids. I didn't have to go to school 4 years and put in all this work for this. If I didn't care about your child, what person in their right mind will go to college, pay all this money to be a teacher if they didn't care about your kid? I certainly don't have the money to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so, or the time like that. But I gave and sacrificed my time. And so if I didn't really care about these kids, and what one thing that tripped me was the student who I had to encounter with, she was not even my student. And so I saw her in the hallway misbehaving. And the white people were like, well, she's not your student. But one thing they fail to realize is that in black culture, we believe that it takes a village to raise a child. So in schools, when I was in school, and I'm pretty sure when you was in school, and when I grew up in the church, it didn't matter what adult told me to stop doing something. I just knew that it was an adult and that I needed to stop doing it. So
right?
if the pastor wife caught me as a child doing something, I'm not gonna say to her, "You're not my mama." No, he's an adult, and I was taught to stop doing it. If she told me to stop doing it, what did I do? I stopped doing it. I didn't give her no back talk. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You, matter of fact, when I was growing up, they better not hear wind of you disrespecting or talking back to an adult, because it's going to be a problem.
yeah,
They had to come tell them that you were disrespecting an adult. I mean, sure, it's been many times I've said things I had no business, and people who wasn't in my family but knew the family would get me in line. Or if they saw you doing something you had no business, they'll call you out and say, "Hey, if you don't get out of there and come here, say, 'Cause I'm gonna call your mama and daddy too, and your grandma."
mhm.
They know you shut up. You don't go off on them and cuss them out. Like, cuss them out,
No,
please. I
no,
said, I cussed. Listen, I cussed one time, and my grandma heard me. My grandma did to me. Of course, today she'll be arrested for it, and I don't see why. My grandma took me to that bathroom and said, "You cussing, huh?" And got that I know I still can taste that to this day, even though I'm 38 years old. I can taste it this day. She used that Blue Bar Zest soap, and she
mhm,
washed my mouth out with that Blue Bar Zest soap. No, I
mhm.
didn't swallow no soap. No, I didn't get sick. But I understood the concept of what she was doing and what she taught me at that time period. But these
Yes.
liberals would lock her up if she did that today.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with my grandmother. My grandmother basically, that's why, and I thought that, I, I thought that, my grandma did the right thing because, in the school that I worked at, the black kids call the white teachers by their first name.
And that's disrespectful.
That is, and I think that in the white teachers, they want them to call them by their first name. So when I started teaching there for student teaching, I said my name is Mr. Moore because that's my last name. And the black kid said, well, we don't call teachers by their last name here. And the white woman came to me and said, well, yeah, we prefer them to call our first name. I said, well, in black culture, that's disrespectful. I said, you don't do that. She said, why not? I said, because adults are wiser, they have more life experience, and there's a certain standard with children and adults, they're not equal. And you call adults by their last name because that's respect. Now you as the teacher, you can call me by my first name, but these children are not allowed to. And she said that I needed to go along with the school culture. And so I was so uncomfortable with these kids calling me by my first name.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. See, this is why I always promote black people need to create our own schools. And when they hear me say that, certain individuals that's probably like that teacher, oh my God, he's trying to promote segregation. No, it's not promoting anything. The fact is, our children being immersed underneath your laws and your culture is ruining our children. We don't raise our children that way. Now, if you raise your children that way, that's fine. And do you. I can't get mad at you. But our children, the way we raise them, you respect adults, okay? You
Mm-hmm.
honor your father and mother that your days be long on the earth. I don't know how it feels to, even to this day, and I'm a grown man. I could never talk to an elder by their first
Yeah,
name or whatever, and I'm a grown man. You know,
yeah.
my wife has a friend, right,
Mm-hmm.
and she's older. She's definitely older than me, and you know this sister is you see this sister the moment you see her, you gonna respect her. She got that look, and I remember one day she told me her name's Daphne, right, but I always call her Miss Daphne. I never call her Daphne. She said, "Oh no, you don't have to call me Miss Daphne." So yes, I do. Cause I said I feel I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't call you Miss Daphne. And
Mm-hmm.
just bottom line, I can't
Yeah.
call you by your first name without putting Miss in front of it.
Yeah, I still call my elementary teacher because see, some of my elementary teachers they went to the same church as me, my grandmother and grandfather, and
Hmm.
so when I go back there, from college breaks, whatever, I still say like hi, Mrs. Nelson, Mrs. Colley. I'm not gonna dare call these people by their first name. That's crazy,
Yeah.
And even if they talk to me crazy, like even if like my grandfather, if he says something off the wall to me that's mean, you know it's still like I'm not gonna disrespect him. Like I may not like what he say, and I'm not. I may get around my siblings and be like, "Oh, I can't stand him," but I'm never gonna say it to him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or I'm never gonna say it to his face. I may,
Right.
fumble off whatever with my siblings and talk, trash, whatever. But when it comes in front of him, even if he say something mean to me, I'm gonna give him that respect. That's my grandfather. I wasn't raised that way. I'm never gonna talk back to him. Even to this day, as a grown, as me being grown, even when I go home to my grandmother's house and my grandfather's house, they ask me to do something. My grandma say, Marquell, pass me the remote. It's, yes, ma'am, and go get that from yes, ma'am. I'm never gonna be like, no, And I think our kids today, I'm starting to realize that maybe I'm starting to ask myself questions like, these new black kids growing up, is our culture changing? Why is it changing? Who is influencing this change? Because I'm concerned. I think that it's changing for good, but it's also changing for bad.
No. I disagree 100%. Our culture and people have been going progressively down after the civil rights movement and
Hmm.
after all this desegregation. Prior to that, and anybody could look at this, we were more morally better. Even though we were dealing with white supremacist terrorism, don't get me wrong, we was getting
Yeah.
our butts kicked, but we still had our families together. Our children
Hmm.
had schools with great teachers that loved them, that got on to them when they needed it, and it
Hmm.
produced great black people. Now, after desegregation, our children get around different groups, okay, but especially more so one group in particular. And we have been adopting ways of that other culture that we have never
Yes.
adopted prior to desegregation. This is factual. People, anybody can go research this. Now look at down the line. Okay, you're looking at 2018. Our each generation that's more removed from that type of upbringing that we normally raise our children, they have gotten progressively worse. And these folks, that's how they have ushered in a lot of our children into their mass incarceration, because certain things our children would not do because they knew that, hey, any adult see what I have going on, they call the home, and it's a problem because the one thing I used to always hear: don't let them call me at my job to come up here
Hmm.
to the school for you. You do not want to see them do that, okay? Because it's like, oh man, it was a problem. But like you said, you'll call home for a student, and then no parent answer, or then you have this one black parent that'll go probably cuss you out and
Yeah.
defend their kid.
Ain't that crazy? When
Yeah,
I
that's
was in
crazy
school,
as hell.
my mom and grandma, they was always on the teacher side. Like no matter what, if the teacher called home, you getting it. It's what it is. My grandma would always say, we knew her saying was, "Go get Papa's belt." We knew what that was. Like, oh man, like like go get Papa's belt. Like this teacher
Oh yeah.
called him today instead, and so you know, but also teachers call him for good stuff too. But anytime it was bad, it was go get Papa's belt.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember one day they called my dad. Oh, I'll never forget that. I think I was like about this one teacher I had. I think it was second grade, and I was acting up. They called my dad up there. Boy, my dad he came. Boy, he got it. He said he told me to come outside. Outside the thing, and when my dad was standing, he had like some lockers, so you really couldn't see outside the class. So my dad, he was pointing in my chest. He said, "Listen, when I get home, he said I'm gonna deal with you. He said you get back in that class. Don't have these people call me on my job. And so I know how we can't leave a job like that." He kept pointing in my chest at the time. He pointed in my chest. I'm like, oh man. So when I got back in class, it just ruined my day. I was quiet. It just ruined my day. Man, I got home. Boy, my dad got home. Boy, he got that bill. He wore me out on that one. No, he didn't cut blood.
Yeah,
No, he didn't leave bruises.
no,
No, he didn't hurt me. But I learned that day to listen to teachers and listen to authority and not get into trouble. And my friends who didn't have that, they got into trouble. Some of them got in the gang. Some of them became drug dealers. Some of them are dead right now, or some of them are in jail. Because that unfortunately, because we've been around too many white liberals, now black people are saying, "Oh, it's child abuse to discipline your children." It's the difference between child abuse and discipline, two totally different things. And
mhm,
now black folks are repeating that. So you look at something like Good Times with James Evans with you mean that episode where he got the belt for JJ's friend for talking
yeah,
crap at the
yeah,
house.
yeah,
Now today they were like, "Oh my God, that's horrible." But
yeah.
black people handle their kids how they handle them, and we
It's two
start
different
handling them.
cultures.
Yeah, it's like we handle them the way you think we should handle them. Now they horrible right now. They got gangs all over the place. You have kids just being disrespectful and
Well,
ushering
yeah,
them
I mean, like
in the
I
jail.
was at one school and this one black girl. I knew that there was white kids out there. I always seen white kids, some white kids, not all of them. Some white kids, talk crazy to adults like, "I'm gonna beat you up," and all that stuff. I never saw a a child do that until a year ago. I was in school volunteering, and I saw a black girl. She said, I'm gonna beat you up," to an adult, and the adult started crying and stuff. Now I don't know who that adult was. I don't know if there was a teacher or family member. I don't know who the child was. I mean, who the adult was. But there was a white woman, and I don't know, maybe she adopted that girl, or maybe I don't, again, I don't know the relationship between the two. But I just saw the black girl, look at the white woman, and she was like, I'm gonna beat you up. And the white lady started crying, and she was like, "I'll do whatever you want me to do, please don't hurt me." And I'm looking at her like, "You letting this child talk to you like that? Like, you sitting here crying and doing nobody, ain't, it ain't helping nobody in the situation." And, you know, I'm like, I know ain't no black person finna allow that. No black teacher will sit there and allow a child to talk to them like that. You know, that's not how we was raised. But I guess this way we're going, I will like end off with this, like, what do we do? Because the way we're going in this new system is, we can't touch children at all, like no matter what. Like, even, hugging them, that's how scared I am now because I got fired. You know? And
Well,
so
sure, you should be bothered on a good day hugging even grown women, because with Me Too now, you hug somebody and they sit up and say you assaulted them. So no, don't be hugging nobody these days. Keep your distance. Shake a hand if you got to, but no, I would suggest nobody hug anybody in a professional setting. That is mm-mm.
yeah, because like I said, you know, I don't know where we're going in this system, and it's unfortunate. And that what's making me so upset is that a lot of teachers of color, they don't even want to teach anymore because of the lack of authority. Mind you, like
Right.
as a black male, I got to go to work day in and day out and deal with all these white teachers disrespecting me. Right, so I'm in the classroom. They questioning my teaching ability, competency. They always own me, right? And so they like, they always tested me. And so when black kids see that, what are black kids gonna do? They're gonna test me too, make it harder for me. They have started to disrespect started to disrespect black teachers more than white teachers, you know? And so they're
Yeah.
testing me. And so, mind you, as an educated black man, I'm not getting the respect from my white colleagues, let alone my own race of children. And so it's like I got to, when I think in that moment when I grabbed her, it was more like, damn it, you're going to respect me. Like, like I'm an educated black man. You're not going to sit here and talk back to me and crazy to me, call me all type of names. And one black male professor, Dr. Terrence Ross, he said it best. It's easier to be an uneducated black man. It's more difficult to be an educated black man because the more educated you are, they're not going to give you that respect. You know,
Let me piggyback that. They don't respect you, educated, uneducated. They don't respect you if you're homeless or president or anything in between that. I mean, obviously they prove that.
yeah.
So I don't think we should ever look for their respect at all. But for me, you wouldn't disrespect me on a good day. But I talk to them a certain kind of way. They say, oh, nah, he a little too militant or he crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna kind of watch him a little bit. But the thing is, if anything, your case is just basically saying that this is why we should create schools in our communities. In
Basically, yeah.
every city, we need a school. Every city. Why can't we as a community get together and create schools? I mean, there's no law against us creating schools. There's no law against that.
No, it's
So
not.
yeah, so this is something that we need to do based off of what you're telling me. The kids, and this is not the kids at that school, is all over the place. They're allowing the kids to be degenerates, and our kids cannot be degenerates because they're trying to usher in the next generation of slave laborers in prison, and that's why I'm gonna keep promoting that. We need to create schools, and I'm gonna keep hammering that point home. Trust me, I am. But brother, thank you for joining us on the show today. I appreciate you giving me definitely some information on how our kids are treated in schools and how the Caucasian female teachers and administrators are literally contributing to our downfall of our children.
Yes. Thank you so much for the time.